So you might remember back in April we reviewed Samsung's Galaxy Fold device. It's a new foldable phone that's kind of setting the stage for these new types of devices, except it didn't really go according to plan for Samsung. Now I'm going to let Dieter explain exactly what happened back then.
There are two different issues here. The first is that on the front of the screen there's this thing that looks like a removable screen protector, but it is not removable. Instead, it's this layer that's applied with some serious adhesive, and it's basically part of the screen. If you try to pull it off, which, to be clear, seems like a totally reasonable thing to do given how it looks, you will end up wrecking the hell out of this phone. But that's not what happened to me. As near as I can tell, something got stuck in between the screen and the hinge on my first review unit. I still don't know what it was, but I do know that it broke the screen. So Samsung replaced my unit and it gave a statement about the issue. It said, quote, "We will thoroughly inspect these units." In other words, there's no answers yet, which means you can't trust this phone.
So since those reviews, Samsung killed off the original release date. They went back to the drawing board to figure out how to fix some of these major screen issues. Now it's September, we're at IFA 2019 in Berlin, and Samsung is ready to get this device into people's hands and show off how they've changed the hardware and maybe even some of the software too. So I'm not going to do a full hands-on of all the specs or a review or anything like that. You should definitely check out our previous review for all of that information. But I'm going to show you exactly what's changed from the hardware point of view from April to September, and just how Samsung's avoiding having another disaster. Okay, so you're not going to notice a huge amount of changes visually from this, but most of the work that's been done has been in the hinge. So Samsung tells me that the gap that you'll see here, like almost like the seam between the hinge and the displays, has been basically closed up a little bit more. So you're not going to get as much dirt or stuff like dust and stuff getting in between and ruining the displays. That's also meant that the hinge is a little bit more reinforced, and it also means that the two-stage, when you open it up, feels a little bit more sturdier and snappier. You'll also notice when the device is closed and the two displays are like squished together, the gap is actually a little bit thinner. So that's going to basically mean that less dirt and grub and stuff is going to get in between the displays. So yeah, another way of stopping that problem from happening. I'll open it up and show you something that's definitely new. There's two new sort of plastic caps. These are basically mechanisms to keep dirt and dust from getting in between this plastic and obviously the display itself. So again, strengthening it, making sure that none of that dirt's going to get underneath there. What you might also notice as well is on the actual display itself, it used to have a protective film over the top. That is still actually there, but what you'll notice is you can't even like peel it off. It's actually gone underneath the bezels and beyond the bezels. So no one's going to be peeling that off thinking it was a screen protector, which obviously was an issue back in April. Other than that, there's not too many hardware changes. Apparently underneath the display there's some more sort of metal reinforcement, just to keep things a little bit more sturdier. It feels reinforced, like it feels that they have done some work here for sure, other than what you can see visually. On the software side, Samsung tells me not much has changed, but what you will notice is that the navigation bar for Android, you can have it on the right, left, or even on the center now. But all the sort of like multitasking changes, all the apps are sort of basically all the similar sort of stuff from April. Not too many changes on the software side just yet. So yeah, it's all centered on this hinge, and that's where kind of the changes really needed to be done. So it's good to see that they've fixed it up. So that was a quick look at some of the changes that they've made there. I don't know whether that's going to solve all of the problems or whether these screens are still going to break like they did before, but there's definitely been a lot of effort around the hinge. And like I said before, nothing has changed in the specs. It's still a Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 processor, 12 gig of RAM and 512 gig of storage. Like all the internals are pretty much the same. Yeah, you can laugh at the 4.6-inch display at the front, the giant bezels around it. You can laugh at the plastic display inside, like all that stuff. I totally get it. I laugh at it too. But it's something new, right? Like the phones over the last few years have been kind of boring. Sure, there's been camera work and all that sort of stuff, but this is something truly new. And I think if a company, whether it's Samsung, Apple, Google, whoever, combines the software on these sort of devices, then these dual screen foldable devices could be very much part of our future. And if you want to know a lot more about the specs, the software, all the features, you should definitely check out the review we did back in April.
This is a Galaxy Fold. Before everything went to hell and the first phone broke, here was my conclusion about this thing. I have never used a premium device with this many problems that I love this much.